The Dog and Deuce Show is produced by Dymar Productions in association with Studio B Productions.
Welcome to Utah's longest-running sports podcast. This is Dog and Deuce. Every week, we take a deep dive into the Utah Jazz, the Utes, Cougars, Aggies, and everything in between. The Utes, Cougars, and Aggies are all at home this week. We'll preview all three games, including the much-anticipated Bronco Bowl going down in Provo. Plus, the Jazz remain perfect in the early season, some surprises in the NBA already, and we preview every week of NFL Week 8. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming your way on Dog and Deuce number 384.
From Studio B in Salt Lake City, this is Dog and Deuce. Join the conversation at doganddeuce.com or send an email to doganddeuce@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening to episode 384 of the Dog and Deuce Show. If you want to know more, and I sure hope you do, follow along with the show notes at doganddeuce.com.
Got a TV set? You live in the Salt Lake Valley? Well, you can watch this show all weekend long on K-Powder TV. And if you're in southern Utah, you can watch on Backcountry TV. And as always, you can listen wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We would love to hear from you. Send us an email to doganddeuce@gmail.com. I'm Dog.
And I'm Deuce.
This is episode 384. This is our busy season. We've got so much to talk about in such a short amount of time. College football is heating up. The Utes lost, but the Aggies and Cougars won by the skins of their teeth. The Jazz season got underway. They remain perfect so far in the season. A big part of that was Nikola Jokic knocking knees with Rudy Gobert and getting knocked out of the game. That was kind of a blessing for the Jazz because he was unstoppable. And on top of that, NFL is man, it's heating up right now. Lots of storylines there as well. So let's start with college football, though. And we got to start with the Bronco Bowl, right? Like, I mean, we always go through last week's games, and we will, but we got to start with the Bronco Bowl. This is fun. As an outsider who's not a BYU fan, it's fun to see a guy like Bronco Mendenhall, who showed no emotion whatsoever in his tenure at BYU, coming back to play or to coach in what for normal people would be a very emotional game. What do you think Bronco's thinking as he comes into Lavelle Edwards?
I mean, I think he's thinking it's time to put the hammer down. You know, I mean, he was such sort of like and I don't say this in an insulting way, but like a cyborg, like a machine.
It was, man.
When he was at BYU, you know, it was like if they inputted data into his brain on what to say. And it was bad data, too, in my estimation, for me. From my perspective, it was hokey, over the top, you know. And now you've just seen him, you know, allow to sort of spread his wings and be maybe the Bronco Mendenhall that some people knew behind the scenes. I mean, didn't he play at New Mexico?
He coached at New Mexico. He coached Brian Urlacher.
That's my dude.
Yeah, that's your boy.
He can't be bad, A, and B, I mean, he's lived in New Mexico. Sorry to all the Enchanted Land State people out there listening. I mean, it is New Mexico. So, like, he has an ability, is what I'm saying, to not be a cyborg. And I think you've seen that at Virginia. And I mean, I would think I don't want to call it bloodlust, but kind of. I would be if I were him.
It just feels like there has to be some sort of repressed rage there, you know? Like, he kept it in check, got beat by the Utes almost every single year. So many emotional losses, so many emotional altercations with the fans down in Provo where they kind of, like, he did so many good things for them. You know, like, he won every year, 10 games, every single year. Conference championships, at least in the running for conference championships. Like, he was amazing for them. They went independent, and things got a little bit more difficult for him, but he still performed. And again, this is not all BYU fans. This is like Cougar board people as pretty much everyone knows, that's a special type of BYU fan, the message board people, and every fan base has it. But the Cougar board people really were giving him grief for years and years and years, and all he did was win. So And that's why when he left, do you remember what a shock it was? Usually when a coach is talking to other schools or looking for other jobs, you hear leaks, you hear reports that they're going to interview here or there. And it was just like one day he was gone. And it was just very interesting how it happened and everything that went down. And so I just got to think him like just slowly pacing up and down the sidelines every game, never really saying anything. The most emotional, the closest thing to an outburst we ever saw was when Suspenders Boy came up and challenged him after the Utah loss, one of the Utah losses. And that guy's a special kind of fan too. Let's just say that.
And that would have been one moment where I'd have been down for Bronco
totally
to throw it right across.
Totally.
And I would have been like, all right, yeah, buddy.
Knock his ass out. Seriously. Yeah, I wanted to. I'm a Ute fan and I wanted to. That's ridiculous. So that was the closest we ever got. So I just got to think. First of all, I got to think he probably doesn't want to come back here because he is, for all intents and purposes, kind of just, he's done his best to erase BYU from his history. Like, he never talks about BYU. He doesn't want to even acknowledge that he coached there is what it kind of feels like. So just based on that alone, it kind of feels like he's got to be a little frustrated that he has to come back here. But that said, he's got to have that repressed rage. He just has to, dude. It's got to go somewhere.
Like you mentioned, it's so interesting. Like I just a little different perspective, and I'm not sure, this is total, speculation. And I don't know what opportunities he had out there before he went to Virginia. But maybe he looked at and he played Virginia a few times when he was the coach. Maybe he's like, oh, Virginia, sort of a mid to lower tier ACC school that I can rise up. And I get to play BYU after I've had him rise up after a few years. I'm ready.
Good point.
I mean, I got to think he's just amped. Like, do we see a Tom Homo handshake midfield pre or post game? Do BYU fans go crazy and boo him? I think he's, and again, this is stream of consciousness, so forgive me. I think he's the second winningest coach in school history.
I would think so. He won a lot of games for them.
He has over 100 or close to. I remember looking this up in the past. I think he has like 101 wins. So obviously he's not even in the ballpark of Lavelle. But I think he is the second most winningest coach in the history of Brigham Young, unless I'm forgetting years there when they're Brigham Young Academy like they tend to do.
Yeah, probably.
That's good. That's a good dig, man. That's a good dig.
He had, in 11 years at BYU, he had 99 wins.
Okay. That's pretty good.
And only this is the one that surprises me. Only 2 Mountain West Conference championships.
Yeah, because we were good for a few years there, right?
And then TCU came in.
For sure. I mean, that's 9 wins a year, literally.
That's pretty damn good, man. I mean,
you got to be a fool to complain.
And I think a couple of those years, I could be wrong. I could be mixing some years up, but it seems like a couple of those years they were like 11-1 or something.
For sure, yeah, there was ebb and flow, but I mean, you average 9 wins a year in football at any level, you're pretty damn good.
So what do you think? Do you think BYU fans are going to boo him?
Well, depends how many Cougar board people show up. I'm guessing a lot.
Probably a lot.
I mean, I hope not, but I would think there'll be some minor hostilities. And it also probably depends on his emotion, because like you said, he was so unemotional at times when he was coaching at the Y, and also the score.
True.
I mean, let's not forget, BYU started out in Fuego, lost a couple, by the skin of their teeth, beat a Washington State Cougar team that lost their head coach because he's anti-vax and willing to give up millions of dollars. The Andrew Wiggins of the Pac-12, if you will, or Kyrie Irving, maybe. Andrew Wiggins vaccinated. Sorry, Andrew. The Kyrie Irving of the Pac-12 and Nick Rolovich. Barely skimmed by beating them, which I think if you asked us 3 weeks ago would sort of been unimaginable.
Right.
But here's where we are. And I think you and I both cautioned BYU fans, hadn't played a road game. Here comes Utah State, sort of struggled minus turnovers versus them, then Boise, and then on down the line. The Cougars are good, but they're not world beaters.
Well, they had an obvious mental hangover from that that Baylor beatdown. I mean, it really felt like they were just kind of shell shocked still, and they didn't. The Utes struggled against Washington State, but got by him. Utah State struggled against Washington State, but got by him. I mean, it's kind of a trend for these guys. But to me, it's not a loss. They won. Okay, I'm not taking it away. But with everything that went on with Rolovich and all the controversy and turmoil surrounding that program, the fact that they just barely beat him, what was it? 19. Oh, I don't have it in front of me. It was like 19-13 or something like that was the final score. 21-19, excuse me.
There you go.
That's tough, man. Like that was a program primed for a beatdown just to get slammed into the ground. Now, we've talked about this in the past. A lot of programs will, when something like this happens, will kind of, let's do one for coach, but I'm not sure if that locker room is really chomping at the bit, because he really, and I guess this is something we could get into now. Mike Rolovich really left those kids in the lurch. Like what he did for really no reason, he bailed on him. He left him, man. Like a program that was already kind of struggling, already going through some turmoil. They needed a leader to stick by him, and he wouldn't even literally take one for the team. It's crazy to me.
It's absurd. It's insanity. It's bad group thinking run amok, if I could term it that. I mean, and let's not forget, like, the Pac-12 mandates that players are vaccinated or losses/forfeits will occur. I don't know Washington State percentage of players vaccinated. I'm guessing it's relatively high because they live in Washington.
Right.
Washington's not exactly Arizona as far as, conservative/liberal perspective. It's on the more left end of it. And to have your coach, who is making at least $1 million, I'm assuming, not be willing to, like you say, and I think eloquently put and to the point, take one for the team to be a part of it. I mean, I don't know if I'm ever an administrator at that school, if I even give that guy a sniff at a job.
Would absolutely not. I mean, to me, it almost felt like a way out for him. And I could be wrong. I could be totally reading into it, but it just felt like it was a way out for him because the team was not doing what he was expecting. And so it's a way for him to bail and still save face and consider himself a martyr and a hero.
Yeah, martyrs, they're judged after they're gone. And I mean, let's be honest, Mike Leach had that program in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, he did.
You know what I mean? I mean, sure, they weren't world beaters, but they were some formidable. And I sort of expected Rolovich to, at least maintain that in the ballpark of what Washington State was. But as you said, a Utah team that was struggling mightily beat them, right?
Yep.
A Utah State team who we didn't know what it was week 1, if I remember correctly, beat them. And now BYU, I mean, while they're in the ballpark of getting victories, it appears to me that the person at the top is the reason they weren't. So if you're a Washington State Cougar fan, be happy he's gone because probably the future is better.
Totally. I totally agree. But let's get back to BYU, Virginia. You got a score for us?
Man, this is a hard one. And I don't know what Virginia is averaging. I'm going with the Cavaliers, Thomas Jefferson School. Probably somewhere like 28, 24.
Well, when they win, they score a lot of points. So I was prepping for the show and I was looking through their games, and when they win, they score a lot of points. But here's one thing, man. Like I have my score and I picked Virginia, and I was confident, but then I remembered Bronco doesn't really win big games.
That's true.
So, and this is a big game. So then again, I mean, he's got the talent that he allegedly wanted all those years. He was able to recruit who he wants now. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he's got it maybe he's in a better headspace, but I'm still going with Virginia. The thing is, their defense is not good at all. That's the big hang up for them. And so, but BYU has not been scoring points lately. I mean, points are at a premium for them. They're going to have to take care of the ball if they want a chance. It's in Provo. That's the only thing. BYU's favored by 2.5, but I still got to go Virginia 37-30.
Here's something to consider that might change your mind, and I want to get your take on it. I mean, let's not forget Kyle Whittingham and Bronco Mendenhall didn't get along. For a long stretch of that staff, I don't have the exact numbers of years, Kalani Sitake was on the Utah sideline.
Yep.
I can't imagine that
Good.
he didn't take a little bit of Cal Whittingham's not liking Bronco Mendenhall to heart. Oh. Man, maybe this makes me change my score. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I mean, Cal Whittingham had an axe to grind with Bronco Mendenhall, and he probably did it into the ground and maybe subterranean if possible. Does Kalani pick that up and put him even further beneath the ground as far as, you know, the bad blood between them?
Well, let's look at it this way. Earlier on in the season, LSU played UCLA, and Ed Orgeron made some comments to the UCLA fans, and I wondered if that was still a little leftover animosity from his USC days. And Kalani he had some battles against Broncos teams, and Broncos defenses were good. And so were his offense. His offenses were really good. So yeah, there are some battles. There might be some animosity. And not only that, but Kalani you couldn't have a more different person at the helm. Not just in personality wise. And we see Kalani running up and down the field and jumping up and down, and it's a little tired sometimes, but it's fun if you're a BYU fan. Bronco never did that, but also in stature. Like, he's a big dude, man. He's huge. And Bronco's just this like rail thin little white guy just mumbling along the sidelines. It's just totally different. And I don't know. I can see Kalani really wanting to stick it to him. Oh, man, I might have to change too.
An onside scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, this would be great. The TV should be great if it's a close game or anything. I don't know.
Ooh, this is going to be a good game. You're sticking, what was your score?
28-24 Virginia. The other part to think about is the ACC is terrible. True. Minus Georgia Tech.
True.
Clemson, who are they anymore? What a drop-off. Who else is even in the ACC?
I'll tell you right now. So Wake Forest is good.
Allegedly.
They're undefeated. Mm-hmm. But in Virginia's division, they got Pitt, who's ahead of them because they're 3-0. North Carolina, who just stomped Virginia. Georgia Tech is 2-3. Miami's 1-2. Virginia Tech's 1-2. Duke is 0-3. I mean, it's not a good. And Clemson 3-2. You know, it's not a good conference.
Yeah, Carolina will probably win that if I had to guess. What is their overall record? I mean, they started out in fire but lost to Texas early. Mac Brown really has that program on a resurgence.
Carolina, they are 3-3 in conference, 4-3 overall. So not great, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's you know my love for the Tar Heels, so I kind of make him out of there.
I know.
I'm sick of seeing Dabo Swinney. I'd much rather see Mac Brown, which I thought I'd never say.
Totally. I'd rather see Bronco Mendenhall.
Truly.
Anybody but Dabo, man. It's so annoying.
Oh, how the times change.
Right? It's so crazy. But this will be fun. Even it doesn't matter. And I think both Utah and BYU games are on at the same time. But even if you're a Utah fan, you're gonna be switching over to watch this one. This one's gonna be must-see TV. And I mean, I can't wait. As soon as I saw it on the schedule, this is the one that I highlighted. This will be fun for sure. Let's move on to Utah, though. They lost to Oregon State. Now, if you haven't been really paying attention to Pac-12 football this year, if you've been kind of casually watching, you might say, Oregon State? What the hell? But Oregon State is surprisingly good. Even going into this game, we didn't record last week, but I will admit it, if we were to have recorded and previewing this game, I would have taken Oregon State a lot lighter than I should have. There's no doubt. And what the Beavers did felt like what Utah used to do to teams. Run them over, play tough defense. Look, I know the Utes put up, 30 points, I think. They put up 34 points. So you look at that and you say the defense wasn't that good. But that defense gave us fits. They gave us fits. The offensive line looked like garbage again, but I don't think it was on the offensive line. I think that rush was just so good. I really do. Like, Oregon State is surprisingly good. It's not a bad loss. It's disappointing. You won 3 in a row. It looked like the season was turning around. It was a very winnable game. It's a bummer, but it's not the end of the world. You're still in control in the South, and you're still in a good position.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, let me be honest. We didn't record last week. Fall break, fun stuff. John, my buddy, who I was talking to as I would exit wherever I was at. I don't disclose locations, man. It's like that. I'm not gonna lie. I told him 34-10 Utah. And it's not that I didn't respect Oregon State. It's that I thought I saw the bounce. It was a classic trap game.
Yeah.
So much emotion, such good victories over the last few weeks for the Utes. And I said that to him, classic trap game. I just think the Utes are better. One thing and look, in all honesty, yeah, the rush was getting there. They didn't score in the red zone. 4 out of 8 is not enough, especially when your defense is somewhat struggling here and there. And, the loss of Lloyd hurt, right, when he went out. But also the play calling. It started out so great. Just throw those little they're not even outs. Just throw a pass to the running back and let him get 5 yards every time.
Yep.
Literally, they got it every time. And then as the game wore on in the middle, they stopped doing that. That's when the struggle occurred. And then they went back to it at the end and walked down and scored. It's very confusing. And this has been a classic Ute offensive coordinator, no matter the name, like outthink yourself when something's working. It's like the reoccurring run the tape back over 30 years, 30 years, 384 episodes of how many times you or I have said that. You would have a significant amount of times.
If you just cut those statements out of our show in every episode we've talked about it, they would probably be like a 5-hour video.
Oh, wow.
Seriously.
That's a problem. That's a problem for our...
It's true though. They get out, they overthink it and just keep it simple. But on the other end, it kind of felt like the Utah defense, which usually is very dominant, usually is prepared for any situation. It's just so demoralizing when you get run over and over and over again. I mean, these weren't big passing plays. The run game just destroyed them. And it felt like when Devin Lloyd was ejected, it just kind of felt like that was the straw that broke the camel's back. At that point, they're like, we just can't keep up. Like they're just out, and you get worn out as a defense. You're not prepared. You know what's coming, but you can't stop it. I mean, that's what Utah used to do to teams. This is what it feels like to be on the other end. It sucks. I hate it. But also, again, I've heard a lot of people, saying, well, Oregon State's defense wasn't that good. I kind of disagree. They gave up 34 points, but like you said, Utes couldn't score in the red zone. They couldn't get third downs. There's a lot of things that they did it was like a bend not break personality with that defense. I actually want to give them a lot more credit than a lot of people want to, but it was a tough game, tough loss. Got to bounce back. Doesn't get any easier this week. UCLA. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, and you said it best, like to know what's coming and just to get outmanned
it's the worst.
is a Utah philosophy, right? You know what was coming. With name the running back in the last 10 years.
Devontae Booker, John White III.
Who's the dude
Zach
who retired
Moss.
And then came back and had 500 yards in one game? I can't remember.
Joe Williams.
Yeah. Like you just knew it was coming and you couldn't stop it. And
you can go all the way back to Matt Asiata. Like go way back, man. Let's go. Darrell Mack.
Viking proud.
Yeah, Darrell Mack. Like let's go way back.
And you knew it was coming, and that's how it felt to be on the opposite side of Utah. So it's a little bit of our own medicine. And you're right. When Lloyd went out with targeting, it was as if you could just see the wind come out of the sails.
Yeah.
And that was a game where the offense had to go win it. And whether it was play calling, untimely third down incompletions, red zone inefficiency, giving up some sacks, yards for loss, whether it was on the QB or in the run game, the offense couldn't do it. 34 is normally good enough. How often, and I said this to my neighbor when I was walking the dogs the other day, how often do you get to say Utah dropped 34 and it's a loss?
Not very often.
That's not a thing we're used to here in the city of Salt Lake.
And how often do they give up 42 points?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So tough loss. UCLA this week, though, and honestly, who the hell knows what UCLA is anymore? I was surprised to see that the Utes are favored. Kind of big, 6.5 points. I was very surprised to see that. But then again, UCLA is so hit and miss. I just don't know. I'll tell you what, I would take that bet, UCLA to cover. I would definitely would, because it's, from what I've seen from Utah, it's not the team. It's a young team still. And they still have a lot of growing to do that they can over the years. So it's not make or break this year. It's not title or bust. But still, I mean, you got to win this game. You have to.
Yeah, look, it's still all there. I mean, you've beaten Arizona State. You've beaten USC. You got the tiebreaker as far as the Pac-12 South goes. What your real goal was is to win the Pac-12 South, get to the Pac-12. It's there for the taking. It hasn't been perfect, hasn't been pretty. There's been lots of sighs, lots of I don't want to watch Utah football echoed at 10:30 p.m. on a Saturday night. That's happened, but it's still there. So at the end of the day, if you're a Utah team, you regroup and say, guys, almost everything has gone wrong and it's still there.
True.
Chin up, kid.
Yep.
Chin up. Time to go get a W and smash some Bruins, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, do you have anything more to play for than a conference championship? What more could you ask for? We complain, BYU fans complain that they don't have anything to play for. The Utes are still in prime position to make that happen.
Right. And
so chin up and let's see what UCLA has to offer. But you're right. Like, you asked me week 2, I'm dead scared of UCLA.
For sure. I still am. I still am. I'm scared of every single Pac-12 team except maybe Arizona.
That'll be the one that'll get us. Yeah. Mark that down. Put a little flag right here. That'll be the team that gets us. And our history with them is well documented back to the Lineman brother days.
Yep.
Anyway, I mean, it is really hard to know what to expect. A hard part of it is that Devin Lloyd's out for the first half.
It's gonna be big.
And Dorian Thompson Robinson, that's his name, correct? I'm really mixing up names now. So
you got it. You nailed it.
It's not Cam Newton, it's Cam Rising. Like the one thing, if you're the defense, that you can almost bank on, if you're a Utah fan, is that UCLA is not going to be as productive in the run game as they need to be to get the victory.
Yeah.
If anything, Morgan Scalley and Kyle Whittingham will send the house every play to stop the run. They do not like getting embarrassed like they were last week at Oregon State. So from that context, I have to go with Utah because I'm not sure DTR can throw the ball around the park enough to beat the Utes. And Clark Phillips is probably going to get a pick when he does.
True.
So, I mean, and as long as Cam Rising continues to be what he has been since he's been the starting quarterback and the running game is decent, I'm going with the Utes. What do you think?
What's your score?
31-17 Utah.
Whoa.
And I would even go lower than 17. I just feel like there might be a fluke play, probably a special teams play because we've given up so many of those this year. So just add in a special teams touchdown. So it really would be 31-10. But I'm going to say there's either going to be a defensive or special teams touchdown for the UCLA Bruins. Not a whole lot of 7 clap going on. Sorry, boys.
Wow. They have not scored less than 23 points this year. Does that change anything?
Absolutely not.
All right. I think it's going to be closer than that. I think it's going to be a lot closer than that. I think Utah wins, and I'm giving it to Utah just because it's at home. But Devin Lloyd being out, like you, even if for some miracle reason that would never ever happen, even if he's just a non-factor on the field, which is never going to happen, just the fact that he's out there gives so much confidence to that defense. He is so I mean, it's not often where I'm only watching the defensive player, like a defensive player. Like normally I'm watching what's happening with the offense and how our defense reacts. But I keep my eyes on Devin Lloyd on every single play. And it's been a long time since I've just cued in on a defensive player and only watched him because that's how important he is. That's how much fun he is to watch. He's everywhere. And so not having him for an entire half in what could be one of the most important halves of the season, it's going to be tough. So I think it's going to be closer than that. I think UCLA is going to put up more points than you. I'm still going Utah, though. I'm going 34-31 Utes.
Whoa, that'll be fun. I want to reiterate, I think you said something there. All you need to watch is Devin Lloyd.
Yeah.
Because wherever he is most likely where the ball is unless it's in the air.
Yes. Right.
Like he is, find Devin Lloyd if it's on the ground. That's where the ball is probably going to be 99% of the time. So you're right. And Nephi Sewell got a little banged up and has been a little banged up in the Oregon State game. It'll be very imperative that the safeties come down to help. McKinney's going to play a big role to stop that run and make UCLA a pass-first offense. You have to break the will.
Yes.
Of UCLA in the run game and make DTR a passing quarterback. And if he beats you, that's when you just tip your hat and say, hey, good job, buddy. I don't think he can, given the quality of our defensive backfield. And he can't do it consistently. He may get one or two, but I don't think he can do it and beat us as long as we don't fumble, turn the ball over, and do what Cam Rising in the offense has done since he's been the starting quarterback. That's just why I just
got to score in the red zone.
34-31. You got some exciting games, man. You're going to have so much adrenaline going. It's going to be wild.
So far, man. It should be fun. I'm excited. Okay, let's move on to the Aggies and the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. This is an earlier game going on at 1 p.m. Up in Logan. Man, the Aggies just seem to play like garbage and then win. I don't know what else to say. They squeak by every single game. And usually that's not something you see with an up-and-coming team. Usually that's something you see with a senior-heavy team and a team that's been around a lot and a team that's got a coaching staff that's seen everything, you don't usually see this kind of grittiness and toughness. And I don't care that they barely beat UNLV on the road. They still beat them. They managed to win that game. I don't care that they barely beat Colorado State. They still won. So to me, it's, first of all, it doesn't matter how heavily they're favored, and they're favored in this one by 5.5. It's still going to be a close game. I guarantee it's going to be a close game. But I also am pretty confident that the Aggies are going to get the win.
Here's the thing. If you listen to us before the season even started, people are cashing tickets. Vegas is pissed. And we should have followed our own advice. We just don't do that very often.
It's true, man.
So I mean, dude, 5 wins, right?
Let's see. So far they have I'm on BYU still. Let me flip it over. We picked 5 wins. I know that for the season.
That's true.
And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already.
They got 5, so tickets are being cashed. And you're right. I mean, I think your point is one that if a listener is actually listening is well taken. Their victories are more like a 4th-year starting QB, which they kind of have, right?
True,
I mean,
true.
Since he's from Arkansas State transfer. But overall, just a very experienced team with an experienced head coach. If you're an Aggie fan, that makes me think the future is exceedingly bright.
You would think so. I mean, that's the logical conclusion. Who knows, though, with football. But I will say Bonner has been, I don't want to say a disappointment, but I expected more from him. But, I mean, he's the reason that they have 5 wins, but he's also the reason that they've been in pretty hairball situations at times.
Yeah, he giveth and he taketh away.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's very true. That's very true. But 5 wins is 5 wins.
Dude, they were picked to win 3 all season long, and they still have, 5 games left or something like that.
And that's more than you had last year.
Yeah, dude. Yes, exactly. It's crazy.
So I mean, you tell me who you pick this game first, because I'm interested to see. I'm very unsure of this.
I'm going Aggies. It's going to be close. I'm going 27-24.
27-24. Okay. I'll take the Aggies. I think it's going to be a little lower scoring than that.
I agree. And I don't know why I went this, because I just, in college football, so much more scoring happens. And I think that's what kind of upped it a little bit. But I would agree it's going to be lower scoring.
I'd say 21-17 Aggies. And to get 6 wins and bowl eligibility
with 4 games left,
October ends?
Crazy.
What?
Crazy.
I might head to Logan this weekend.
Seriously.
God only knows how that town will be popping. I mean, dude, Logan's looking good. One thing to consider too, and this goes for UCLA coming to Utah, the weather's been very inclement here.
True.
I think that helps both the Utes and all schools, really, even BYU down there with Virginia. Most of these kids who play for the Rainbow Warriors in UCLA aren't from Utah or the Intermountain West. Snow is a foreign thing. We've seen it in the past with UCLA looking like sure terror on the sideline because of the temperature. I don't want it to rain till about 10 o'clock Saturday morning. And then I just say deluge.
Well, it's supposed to be warm, 68 degrees on Saturday during the day. So I don't know what that'll mean in Logan at that time because I don't know the weather in Logan. But by the time 8 o'clock rolls around for the Utah game and the BYU game, it's going to start getting cold. The temperatures are going to start dropping. And it's not going to be freezing, but it's going to be cold enough that I'm hoping it can affect those warm-blooded UCLA Bruins.
No doubt. So my youngest daughter, I'll just call her June. We have this joke right now. It's an inside joke just between us, and no one else understands it. And so I'm not going to reveal it, but I just will say, and I think she listens occasionally. Okay, meteorologist. That's the joke.
Okay.
So, okay, meteorologist. Wait 5 minutes and the weather will change in Utah. I want rain. I've been experiencing rain for how many weeks in a row?
Yep.
I would like Californians to not want to ever come here again.
Make them uncomfortable.
Yep.
Like those Rick Neuheisel days.
Yes, exactly.
So much fun. Just seeing him bundled up on the sidelines is amazing. Those Southern California boys.
And I think he lives in Montana now.
Oh, does he really?
I think so. So what a change of fate.
That's crazy. You're pulling a Jeff Hornacek, man. You got an inside thing with your kids. Bring it out on the stage.
Well, just my younger one because we just like to make fun of people. We're kind of mean like that.
Yeah, well, that's how I am too. So sometimes I have to rein my kids back a little bit. Like I taught you too much. Like I went overboard. We should be doing this.
Too much too soon, kid.
Like,
too much too soon.
You can say
You're
those things.
25.
Exactly. You can say those things. I know you're joking. Most people don't know you're joking. And it could hurt some feelings. Let's move on to the NBA. NBA is underway. Now, real quick, we are going to talk Jazz. Really fast, I wanted to get your opinion. It's so early in the season that I almost don't want to do this. I think it's kind of dumb, but I am going to do it anyway. Which team's slow start are you most worried about? The Suns, Clippers, or Lakers?
Suns.
I agree.
It's the Suns. Because of where they went last year and what they almost achieved, you figure they would be extremely motivated to come out and show it wasn't for naught.
Do you want me to read who their losses were to?
I saw, they lost to the Kings last night on a 3-pointer at the end by Harrison Barnes, pardon me. And the Kings may be better. The Jazz sort of struggled with the Kings a few nights ago last week until the really end of the game. So maybe the Kings are a little better. But like you say, it's early.
It's early. It's so early. Like, it's stupid to even. And everyone, look, I get it, dude. I love seeing the Lakers struggle. It's my favorite pastime in the world when it happens. I jump on board for that. But it's so early, and that team is so veteran that if I'm a Laker fan, I understand overreacting. That's what fans do. But, dude, you got LeBron James. You got, Carmelo Anthony doesn't know how to win. You got AD. You got Russ Westbrook. Like, you're fine. You're gonna be fine. Whether or not the experiment will work long term with a lot less defense than they're used to, I don't know. But that said, LeBron James, you have LeBron James, you'll be fine.
Well, and let me piggyback on that a little. If I'm a Lakers fan, I almost don't want it to work right now.
You're right.
Because
yes.
It allows people to start seeing what you're doing and what you will be. I want it to start working really, really well. You can't be 15 games under 500.
Right.
Let me say that. If you're thinking I'm saying that, no. You got to be near the Mendoza line or the 500 mark. Mendoza's baseball. We're talking basketball. You got to be near the 500 mark, not out of the playoff picture totally. And then February, March, April, just go on a tear.
Exactly.
And know what you will be coming to the playoffs, right? If I were, Frank Vogel, upper management, Jeannie Buss, Rob Zelinka, is that his name?
Pelinka.
Yeah, there you go. Pelinka, Michigan man. So I don't really like him too much. If I were them, that's what I would be looking for. Right now, literally means nothing. All they need to do is get in the playoffs. And so, for me, it's the Suns. Tell me those losses. Kings, who else?
So they have lost to regular season the Warriors, the Suns, and the Thunder. Now,
awesome.
keep in mind, so they have beat the Grizzlies and the Spurs. The Lakers have. But keep in mind, that Thunder loss, like that's a bad loss because the Thunder had not won. They were winless up to this point. But they didn't have LeBron James, so who knows? Russ Westbrook starting fights at the end of the game, which I actually kind of am with him on this one. Gobert, we won't delve into it. We don't have too much time, but late pass was intercepted and the game is already over. Young guy goes down and dunks it, and Westbrook takes offense, which is kind of stupid because Westbrook is all about stats. That's all he cares about is getting his stats. So for him to get mad at another young kid who wants to get his stats is a little interesting. But that said, they're going to be fine. I'm not worried about the Lakers. I mean, I wish I could say opposite. I wish I could say they're in trouble. I just don't see it. That team's just so good, so talented. So
I'm going to bite my tongue and not defend Russ Westbrook, even though I completely agree with him.
In this case?
Yeah.
I agree with him too. Like, I get it, but to me, he should be more mad about the loss than that. Like, that's one of those things. If this were Donovan Mitchell, he'd be like, we lost. That's what he would be upset about. He would not be upset that some kid did that at the end of the game. Like, there's bigger things to be worried about right now than whether that kid padded his stats to get 20 points. Just saying. That's all I'm saying. All right.
I love you, Russell Westbrook. I love you. No
yes,
matter
you
what.
do.
Man.
You're a Russ apologist. Utah Jazz. Again, we just talked about how it's super early. So let's not. But this is fun. It's fun to see him start out the gate winning because it's something that has not happened in recent years. Winning despite Donovan Mitchell struggling. Never thought I'd say that before. And he's starting to get it together. The 3-point shot's not falling yet. But keep in mind, last year he came out with a hot start, but he also played during the summer. And so I think Donovan is a guy that really kind of, he falls into his groove. And that's what he needs to do, and he's going to do it. And he's putting up big numbers. Don't get me wrong. He's playing way better than any other average NBA player would dream of ever playing. But it's just not the Donovan Mitchell we're used to seeing. He's not hitting his 3-point shots. He's missing some easy ones, but he's starting to find the groove. He'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. But this team, keep in mind, they don't even have Rudy Gay yet. This is a solid squad. And Hassan Whiteside, I was a little unsure of him. And so far in this early season, he's been exactly what the Jazz have needed because he's spelling Rudy when Rudy needs to sit, and he's showing some toughness. It's what we've sorely lacked since Jay Crowder was gone. So it's a fun start. Real quick, next couple games, we'll go up till Tuesday. They got the Rockets tonight. You see them winning that one?
Absolutely.
Same. Then the Bulls, who are 4-0. Interesting, on the road.
We'll get them.
I think we'll get them too. And then very next day on Halloween, they're at the Bucks. I think they dropped that one.
Without a doubt.
I think they'll be the first loss. And then they come home on Tuesday to face the Kings again. Again, another tough team, but it's at home. I think the Jazz will get them.
Yeah, I'll go with, I don't know. The Kings are not that bad, like we just said.
Right.
They gave the Jazz a thing and beat who did we just talk about them beating last night on a 3-point shot?
Lakers?
No,
Suns.
Suns. And they were ahead in that game, and the Suns made a rally. Let me say this. I'm not quite – Donovan's obviously inefficient but playing well. I'm not quite as high on the Jazz as you are.
Yeah, of course you're not. We're back to – last year you got excited and you were all in, and now we're back to right where James is more comfortable.
Back to square one. I mean, let me say this. Like, Hassan Whiteside has been playing well. I thought at the end of the Denver game, him getting in that scrum was stupid. Literally the only way Denver had a chance to get back in that game is somehow them getting 2 free throws and then a 3-point shot.
True.
So while I appreciate the toughness, I also want a little bit of veteran headiness, which I think has been kind of the problem with Hassan Whiteside his whole career. I don't really know that his talent is pretty high level. It's not Rudy Gobert, but it's good. It's his brain and his lack of effort that has left him out of the league or on the end of the bench in previous seasons, unless he was playing with LeBron James.
True.
So he has that going for him. He has Donovan Mitchell, who's not LeBron James, but bordering on superstardom, right, to help him through it and get him easy baskets. I don't think his defense is exceptional at all. I think he's slow, extremely slow. Where on for a 7-footer, let me remind you of this. Okay, I'm not saying he's faster than me. Calm down, people. Like for a 7-footer, I think in the playoffs he'll be a liability, and as the season goes on, I'm not sure he can withstand the rigors of an 82-game season. But he is what he is, and we have a Doki behind him.
Sure.
You know, so like I think as far as a signing, you'd give it right now, a B, and we'll see how the rest of the year goes. I'm not quite as optimistic as rest of Jazz Nation and Talking Heads, but we'll see. The inefficiency is there for Donovan, and I was at the game. Let me just tell you, I walked out of that Denver game. No Jamal Murray. Jokic has 24 points in 15 minutes.
Crazy.
And is the leading scorer and doesn't play.
Crazy.
For 28 minutes. While you can never complain about a W, I'm not quite as tracking with where I think the Jazz are. A W is a W. I'm going to be very interested to see where they play out as the season progresses. I'm not quite as sure if the West hasn't caught up or maybe exceeded what the Jazz are capable of doing right now. Well, not maybe come February, but right now.
Well, with Golden State, I mean, they are scary good right now. That's the team that scares me more than anything, right, as we sit right now. I mean, yeah, I would agree a little bit with Hassan Whiteside. I don't know, man. I think it's early again. I just got to preface it. It's early. Then we got to get to NFL. But for early on, he is filling the role that we need him to fill. And I don't know if that'll continue. I think the fact that there's not a heavy load on his shoulders, I think is going to definitely help him as we move forward. We just need him to spell Rudy. That's it, man. We need him to go in there and not let the other team go on a huge run. That's all. That's it. That's all we really need from him. And Favors, as much as we love Favors, the last year, he just couldn't do it. He just didn't have, I think it's his back, or I don't know what it is. He just didn't have it in him anymore. So that's all we need from him. And we'll see whether he can do that for 82 games. I don't know. But the fact that he's not asked to play 30 minutes a game is going to be big for him.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I just worry. I don't think his little skirmish in the Denver game is a first-time scenario. So I know he's capable between the ears of keeping it together with solid leadership. I just don't know if he'll be able to.
I just like seeing that Trevor Booker, Jay Crowder type guy back on our team, man. I love that stuff. I love it.
I was sitting pretty close, and I was like, Allen's happy.
Yeah.
Allen's happy. As I sit there with my arms folded, like, yeah, Allen's happy. Okay.
They required vaccines to get in? I know they do.
They looked at my card. I will say I was a little, and here would be my only critique of the COVID protocol. I'm not sure my vaccine card was really looked at that well.
Okay, that was what I was going to ask, is if they are really.
I feel like I could have had a piece of paper and probably slipped by if you were really covert about it.
Gotcha.
Which isn't cool. But the other thing that actually bugged me even the most, masks were not mandated. People were wearing them. It only seemed as if masks were mandated in the 5 rows surrounding the players.
That's what it looked like on TV.
And to me, I try not to be harsh anymore. I'm working on that. To me, it's disgusting. If it's so important that those players are protected with masks, then I don't under the concept why everyone wouldn't be.
Why not everybody
Just because
else?
They're basketball players and make a lot of money, it's more important to protect them. I don't follow that line of thinking. That's not how I try to live my life. So for me, that was something that kind of chapped my hide throughout the game. I almost had to not look.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was on the other side where all I could look at was the court and the players and the people
staring right at it. Yeah.
And then look around me and no one wearing a mask. So it was just like,
Did
America,
you feel comfortable though? Did you feel comfortable? Like, were you?
Relatively speaking, I did. I mean, not pure comfort. Nothing a quality.
You weren't like, yeah, exactly. But you weren't stressed or anything, like, because you and I are similar. We're probably a little overly stressed about this stuff.
Right.
But you weren't like hyperventilating, freaking out, because I may have been.
No, but I was quiet and the missus was checking in with me constantly.
Gotcha.
Like, are you okay, buddy?
Gotcha.
Like,
Gotcha.
you're very, very quiet. And I'm like, I'm here, so I'm enjoying this, but I'm just not crazy.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, let's move on.
Fun.
What's
But
that?
fun. But fun. It was fun nonetheless. I haven't been to a Jazz game in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute for me too. So I got to get back in there. Let's move on to NFL. We got 6 minutes left. Now, damn it, James, you just will not go away in this competition. You're up 4 on me. Last week, every week you get me by 1 every single week. Last week I went 8-5. You went 9-4. This is our worst week, I think, for the entire season so far for both of us. And I was doing so bad, and I just saw all the red marks for all the games I missed. I'm like, James is going to be killing me. Thank God, though, you only got me by 1, so it's still manageable. But if it keeps trending this way, I'm going to be in trouble.
This is an out-of-body experience. I feel like I took peyote because weird. I do not know what this feels like.
I don't like it, man. It's so weird.
Frankly, I don't really like it either. I feel like it's bound to crumble terribly for me.
That trophy right there behind me. I just got it, man.
Come back home to me, baby.
Is it
Come
cursed?
Back home to me.
That sucks. I'm going to have to give it back to you. I don't know. There's still a lot of football left to be played, and it's still very manageable. Green Bay at Arizona, which is tonight. If you're listening when this goes up on Thursday, who you got? This is a good game.
No doubt. Good game. Interesting. Last undefeated team in Arizona, right?
Yep.
No J.J. Watt. This week was hard for me. The week's getting harder. The pressure's beginning to mount. I got Green Bay, though. If there's any one thing Aaron Rodgers wants to do is shove this down everyone's face.
You know what? I knew you were going to take Green Bay, and I'm glad you did. Again, I went back and forth, but I'm going Arizona just because I don't think that Green Bay defense, if Aaron Rodgers played defense, I'd feel differently. But I don't know if that Green Bay defense can handle what Kyler Murray's doing on the offensive end.
That's a good point. Devontae Adams is out as well for Green Bay.
True.
COVID protocol. But J.J. Watt's out. No pressure on Aaron Rodgers is a nightmare. You don't get pressure on him. I don't care how good.
Yep.
You could have Rod Woodson back there, and he's still going to drop a dime and score a touchdown. So I'm sticking with Green Bay.
Carolina at Atlanta. Oh boy, can't wait for this one. I got Atlanta.
NFC South just is better and better each week. I'm going Atlanta as well.
Cincinnati at the New York Jets. I don't even need to ask you. You're going Bengals.
No doubt. But how about those Bengals beating the Chiefs last week in convincing fashion?
We're going to talk about the Chiefs in a minute. Rams at Houston. I know you're going Rams.
Yes, sir.
Miami at Buffalo. I know you're going Buffalo.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going the same in all of these as well. Philly at Detroit. You have been going hard on Philly for a team that's only won 2 games.
It's true.
Is this your darling team? If you chose the Eagles as your darling team this year?
City of brotherly love, man. How can you go against her? I think, though, and I don't have my picks up in front of me, I think I went Detroit this week. And if not, I'm going to change it to that.
I'll mark you down for Detroit. I always double check them when I redo it at the end of the week. So I got Philly in that one. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. I'm going with the Browns.
Man, I want to, and I think I did, but Pittsburgh just has something. I mean, this is really make or break it. All the USC rumors swirling about Mike Tomlin, who wants to have nothing to do with it. I think I went with Cleveland, and I'll stick with that as well.
And San Francisco at your Chicago Bears. Yeah, San Francisco screwed me, so I'm going Bears. Just kidding. No way. I'm going Niners.
This is one they could win. The Bears, as I'm speaking of. I think I picked the Niners. I'm going to stick with the Niners. But the Bears are going to jump up and get a couple W's here. They're not as bad as they've looked.
I think, by the way, we're on a football board together. I think you every week are like the first person to get your picks in.
That's great because, on the Thursday night games, I have to.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But it's like yesterday, like I did mine like at like 5 or 6 p.m., maybe 4 p.m., and you and like 2 other people had them in. It's surprising.
Yeah, I just am not a very busy human. I just hang out all day.
Just study. No wonder you're doing so damn good, man. Tennessee at Indianapolis, excuse me. This is going to be a good game. I mean, what is Indianapolis? I'm so confused. Tennessee, I got to go with them, though.
Yeah, based on their recent string of success, right? And it doesn't even feel like they're full throttle yet. It just feels like they're getting started. Yeah, right. I have Tennessee as well.
Jacksonville at Seattle. I'm going with the Seahawks.
Got to. Jayville got off the board last week, though, or 2 weeks ago in London.
Yeah, it's true. They did. Congratulations, guys. That was your Super Bowl. New England at the Chargers. New England's playing good. Chargers.
Mac Jones, what?
Yeah.
Say what? Question Bill Belichick and his drafting prowess any further. But the Chargers are good.
I know, dude. They are. I'm going Chargers.
I'm sticking with LA as much as I don't like to.
Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Oh, boy. I'm going with Tampa Tom in this one, but I could actually, this is a game. There's something about it that doesn't sit right with me, and I don't know what it is, but I can see the Saints taking this one, but I'm going with Tampa Bay.
It's called the Superdome.
True.
The Superdome.
Maybe that's what it is.
It's the ultimate equalizer. If you've ever been to a game there, it's the ultimate equalizer, but I got to stick with Tom Brady till I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Washington at Denver. I'm going with the Broncos.
Yeah, you got to. Washington just can't seem to get out of their way last week versus Green Bay. Denver's looked pretty decent. Vic Fangio on that defense will get it done.
Dallas at Minnesota. I'm going Dallas, but there are injuries. I don't know what to think at this point. Is Dak Prescott going to play? I don't know, but I'm going to go with Dallas.
Yeah, you got to think he will. You got to hope he will, making that pick, right?
Yeah.
And even if Minnesota seems to be in tough, close games, win, lose,
every
or draw.
single week, man. It's like, it's frustrating because they're my team, but I pick against them at least half the time. And so I'm so torn because I want to be right so bad. And because now there's stuff at stake. This trophy's at stake right here. And every pick matters now, but they keep killing me.
And your heart rate has to be up watching those.
Yes, it's
there's
crazy.
No just like, oh yeah, second half is going to be boring. We're crushing them.
Right, exactly.
You know,
last second field goals. Yeah.
Yeah. Missing field goals, just like Seattle. Yeah. Life is hard. Yeah, I'll go Dallas as well.
All right. And we got 30 seconds left. Giants at KC. I'm going KC to bounce back. I mean, I got to think against the Giants.
Woo. Whoever thought you would even have a moment of hesitation, but I'll go with you on KC.
Okay, 10 seconds. How much trouble are the Chiefs in?
They're not in super trouble, but I'm starting to get more and more concerned as each week draws on.
I think I asked you 2 weeks ago, and I think we both said, nah, no big deal. But they're getting closer and closer to dire straits here.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes needs to just take a deep breath, move a little in the pocket, and look for the easy play, not the spectacular.
Exactly, man. I mean, I know he's in those State Farm commercials, but he doesn't need any more endorsements. Like, just play football to win, not to get endorsements at this point.
I mean, he owns a freaking baseball team or soccer team or something.
Crazy, dude. Crazy.
You're good, man.
Yeah.
Win some games.
Just go win some games. All right, that's going to do it for episode 384 of Dog and Deuce. We'll be back next week to talk more Jazz basketball and, of course, college football until the season is over. We want to know what happened with your team and what you thought about it, so send us an email to doganddeuce@gmail.com. I'm Dog.
And I'm Deuce.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for making us a part of your day.